Hello, my name is Amanda Becker, and today I'll be talking to you about positive psychology and flow. Now, positive psychology is kind of the up-and-coming psychology, and it's a very new field that just happened about 10 years ago that has really come into flourish. Now, I'll be talking about what positive psychology, what flow is, and kind of the people who influenced and founded this new psychology. So kind of where I go first is kind of the outline of what I'm going to be talking about is first, what is positive psychology? Now I'll be talking about the important people who influenced positive psychology in this new field, and then talk about the criticism. So what is positive psychology? Positive psychology is the scientific study of the strengths and virtues that enable individuals and communities to thrive. And I got this from the Positive Psychology Center, which was founded by the founder of positive psychology, or the father of positive psychology. It is located in University of Pennsylvania, where he is located, and he's running this center, and it's really worth going to go look at it. So kind of the first person to influence positive psychology was Maslow, or Abraham Maslow. He was the founder of positive psychology, and he lived in an era where behavioralists were the big psychology. So he studied behavioralist psychology, but he felt that we are intrinsically more than just what is motivating from the environment. So you can see this in the hierarchy of needs. So first, the physiological, or the food and water, then the safety, or being safe from the environment and safe from fear, along with being beloved, or in a family and friends. So those are kind of the behavioralists, and where he branches off from them was in this top two. So need for self-esteem, or accomplishment and recognition. So this is a step away from the behavioralist, along with self-actualization, which is at the top of the pyramid. Now, not everybody reaches self-actualization, but it's a very interesting step away from behavioralism and looks at the more intrinsic needs that we need, just not from based out of our environment. So we coined the term positive psychology, and at the time I'm sure he did not know that this will go and flourish into something more. The person who really took it from there, and we consider the father of psychology, is Martin Seligman. So what he did, and from the beginning, is that he watched the learned helplessness in dogs, or the lack thereof. So he was observing dogs and was watching them as they were going throughout their day and playing fetch. They never quit. They never really got depressed. They just continued. They never had learned helplessness. And he kind of made parallels at the time with the lack of learned helplessness in dogs, and the depression and anxiety and the learned helplessness in humans. And what's fascinating is at the time he was a self-proclaimed pessimist, and this kind of took him away as he continued his studies. After that, he talked about the three kinds of happiness. So there's pleasure and gratification. So that's when you go out and eat, or go out and buy some food, something like that. That's pleasure and gratification. More material things. An embodiment of strength and virtues are the more important, like the honesty and the compassion and things like that. The strength and virtues that you see in people. That's another type of happiness. And then meaningfulness and purpose. So the having purpose to your life, something to wake up to every day. There are three kinds that he felt of happiness, and it's of course on a spectrum. You don't just land under one kind of happiness. You can feel each kind of happiness at a certain time. He then went and looked at the 6 core virtues that he felt encompassed all types of cultures. So from the Bushmen to nowadays, he felt like these 6 core virtues were in all types of cultures. He was the APA president and is now the Positive Psychology Center at University of Pennsylvania that I was talking about, and he's there now studying. So really interesting. At the bottom, there is a link to the TED Talk where he is talking about what positive psychology really is. And I think it's very fascinating because he talks about how he started finding positive psychology, and he felt like when he went to talk to people, he would say that he was a psychologist, and they would kind of move away because we continue to talk psychologists continue to look at the negative things in people, such as anxiety, depression, mental disorders, and tries to help them. But he didn't see that we were kind of seeing the other side of people, such as the positive side, and trying to lift them through their positivity and their positive psychology. So he's trying to say that we need to look at both sides of the psychology and all spectrums of the human emotions. So it's really fascinating. You should definitely go look at the TED Talk. Now the other man that kind of pushed this forward was also Mike Csikszentmihalyi. So Csikszentmihalyi was born in 1934, and he was born in Europe, and was really fascinating. When he was 16, he went to a conference to listen to Carl Jung speak, and that's where he first got inspired about psychology. And he saw the kind of the terrors that World War II was sweeping over Europe, and try to see how people can live their life to the fullest. So he created coined the term flow, and that's kind of his big thing. So what flow is a state of optimal experience or feeling in the zone. Flow is activities that are done for their own sake and not for extrinsic awards. So if you ever felt in the zone, it's kind of what flow is. So you have to have clear set goals. You kind of feel a transformation of time, like time passed quickly, and you kind of lose yourself or lose your self-consciousness while you're doing this. So a good example that he always parallels with is athletes, because athletes have a clear set goal, and when they're really challenged and really skilled at their sport, they can get into flow or in the zone and can lose self-consciousness and lose the time that they were practicing in. So one of the ones I like to parallel with is video games such as Candy Crush. So you'll be sitting playing Candy Crush, and you have a clear goal to get to the next level, and you're continuing getting feedback, and if you're doing well, you're continuing sliding candies together and busting up your score, and that's kind of what that is. And after a while for playing it, all of a sudden it's 2 hours past and you are at level 200. So that's kind of what in the zone or the flow is. Now if you've never experienced this flow, it is not abnormal. About 15% of people do not experience flow. So it's absolutely normal if you have not experienced flow, but most people have experienced this in the zone feeling. So kind of put it into perspective is that these graphs. So on the y-axis you can see that there are challenges from low to high, and on the x-axis is skills from low to high. So if you have low skill and high challenge, such as if I went and played tennis with a really awesome tennis player, I would have low skill but a high challenge, and I would start feeling anxiety because I will not be up to par. Now on the other spectrum is if you have high skill and low challenge, you can become bored. I mean, if the person who I'm playing tennis with will probably not have fun with me who's missing all the servings that he's given me, so it would be pretty boring for him or her. So on the other side, the one that is optimal or experiencing flow is if you have high skill and high challenge. So if the tennis person is playing with an equally or even higher tennis player, then they will get into the zone and time will pass and they have a clear goal. That's when you feel flow. Now another chart here is kind of the newer chart that they updated with different types of feelings as you get to it. So If you have low anxiety or low challenge and low skill, it's kind of apathy. Whereas if you have high skill and low, it could become relaxation. Or in the middle, it'd be boredom. So it's kind of a spectrum from where you can feel flow. But flow is usually in high skill and high challenge. That's where you feel flow. And here's another TED Talk link with him explaining it even further. So if you're interested, definitely look at that. So some of the criticisms is that first, it's hard to apply. It's hard to make people in the zone, in flow, especially if they never experienced it. And it's kind of hard to put positive psychology into people, really applying it to certain situations. Also, it undermines the importance of negative feelings, such as anxiety. Feeling a little anxiety before a presentation or before a test is good so you can be more focused, along with grief. Grief is good after you lose a loved one. But when it goes to the high end of the spectrum, when you have continuous anxiety or continuous grief, that's where it goes awry, and we need to fix that. So positive psychology doesn't look at the importance of those negative feelings. So thank you for listening to me. Now go and look at flow or look at positive psychology if you're interested. It's really worth into it. It's coming up as we are speaking now as a new kind of segment of positive psychology. And that's my references.